Hey guys, welcome. We are officially live. Today is Tuesday, November 5th, and it is the final countdown. The final countdown. If you are jumping on, we're going to wait for some folks to jump on. And what I'm going to try to just be on live all day. Today, we're going to look at Trump's final message, his last campaign message, and then we're going to go into just a preview for this election and just praise be to God for the results already, because God is already in control. He already knows what's going to happen, what is it going to be. And so we are just crying out for his mercy that Trump gets into office, not the witch. All right. Let's go ahead and get started here. Wait for a few people to jump on. I'm going to come into the video, say hello, handsome husband. Let's see. All right, let's get into it. Right.
Past 4 years, Americans have suffered one catastrophic failure, betrayal, and humiliation after another.
Yes, we are.
Kamala has delivered soaring prices and true economic anguish at home, war and chaos abroad, and a nation-destroying invasion on our southern border, invasion of some of the greatest criminals in the world that are pouring into our country. And we're not going to take that. We're going to end that like immediately. And I happen to think it's bigger than the economy. And I think, every poll shows the economy and inflation and then the border and the horrible things that are going on. And I don't agree with it. I think we have to focus on all of it. We do it all at one time. But to me, when you allow thousands of murderers into our country, to me, when you allowed the drug kingpins of the world into our and terrorists into our country at levels that we've never seen before, to me, that's the bigger problem. We're going to solve it all, but that's the bigger problem. And we're going to have it taken care of very quickly. But my message to you and to all Americans tonight is very simple. We do not have to live this way. We don't have to live this way. We're not living good. 4 years. What did they do that was good? Can you name one thing? I said to a group of people, what have they done? Everything's a disaster, including nobody even knows how to. Supposing President Xi of China wanted to call to ask a little question about war or Taiwan or anything, who the hell does he call? We got a little problem in America. There's nobody to call. They'll probably end up calling me. Maybe they'll call me. But who do you call? And remember, they ripped that presidency away from Joe Biden. Say what you want. We're not fans of Joe Biden. You know, I spent $150 million on him. Went through the convention. We never mentioned Kamala. Nobody knew who the hell she was.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, they picked Kamala, even though she was in last place. She came in number 13. They had 12 plus Kamala. She was considered the 13th. But then they wanted to be politically correct, so they picked Kamala, and they called her Harris, and nobody knew who Harris was. Like, call Harris. Who's Harris? Weird. You know, it's a very nice name, but it's a strange name because nobody knows who she is as her, so we have to call her Kamala. But she was the least popular. She got no votes. She lost in the primaries to Joe Biden and everybody else. She was the first one out. She quit the first one, 22 people. She left. She never made it to the great state of Iowa, never made it. And now we're running against her. But she's been exposed, you know, she's been exposed. She's a radical left lunatic who destroyed San Francisco. But we don't have to settle for weakness and incompetence and decline and decay. That's a nice word, decay. That's what's happened. That's a nice word, decay. Can you imagine? And nobody will question it because it's true.
Mm-hmm.
With your vote tomorrow, we can fix every single problem our country faces and lead America and lead the world to new heights of glory. Think of that statement, how beautiful that is. New heights of glory, that's what's going to happen. When we win the election and we're really, well, look, the ball's in our hand. All we have to do is get out the vote tomorrow. You get out the vote, they can't do anything about it, we win. One of their top people just got on television. I was coming in and they said, these are not looking good, these numbers for them. This is very troubling. At least he was honest. No, all we have to do, if we get out our people, it's over. There's nothing they can do about it. It's nice when you have that, right? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
In other words, to make you feel a little guilty, we would only have you to blame. But we put ourselves in an unusual position. Never happened where we're leading by hundreds of thousands of votes in the early stage vote.
That's because people are waking up. People are waking up. I believe God allowed Biden and Kamala to get into office to reveal what this was really about. Like, this is literally a battle of good versus evil. And so I think that, and I believe that a lot of Christians really woke up during this administration's leadership, like it, not just Christians, but just people in general, by the droves.
It's never happened before. We've always been losing by sometimes millions of votes, and you know, you keep catching them on Tuesday, but Tuesday comes along and you make it, or you don't quite make it, you're a little short, and then they cheat, and it makes it a little tougher. Because when you have open borders, transgender everything, high taxes, very high taxes. They're campaigning on the fact that they're going to raise everybody's taxes. And you have men playing in women's sports.
Come on.
You have to cheat. Who the hell's going to approve that stuff?
Come on, who else?
Who's going to approve open borders with criminals pouring into our country by the millions?
Jesus.
No, they have to cheat. They have to cheat, and they do it very well, actually. But I think we're in very good shape. We just have to show up, and you're going to have the biggest victory. You know what this will be? The single greatest victory, politically speaking, in the history of our country.
Come on.
And when we win the election,
the single biggest victory, and it's going to be God.
Only one day from now. Do you know how that sounds? I started off saying, and when we win the election 4 years from now. That was terrible. That was so depressing. When we win the election 4 years from now. Then I said 3 years and 2 years and 1 year. Then I said 6 months, and I said, ooh, that's starting to get a little close. And then I said 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 month. And then about 3 weeks ago, when we win the election in 21 days, it just seemed very far away. And now I say when we win the election tomorrow. Can you believe it?
Hallelujah. Let's go. In Jesus' name. Glory. Mm, mm.
And what we've done, this is a sad occasion in certain ways because I think we did like 930 rallies from the very beginning. That's a lot of rallies. And and remember, if you make one slip up, and I'm a person, as you probably noticed, I had this beautiful speech. I haven't really even gotten to it yet. One of these moments, I'll start giving you some beautiful things to listen to, and honestly, some terrible things to listen to. Terrible. What's happened, what they've done to our country is horrible, horrible. And by the way, don't you like a president that doesn't need to use a teleprompter?
Come on.
Isn't there?
Or a president that, and when you ask her a question, she talking about she got to go research first. What are you doing in that position? You mean to tell me you're going to be sitting amongst other world leaders and y'all discussing important matters and you're going to say, hold on, I need to go and do my research first? Come on. She's no real leader. Trump 2024. Let's go.
Something refreshing.
Look what's been happening at her rallies. Every time the teleprompter goes out, they stay stuck. Why? They don't even know what to say. Everything that they do is scripted. Even her herself, when the teleprompter went out, she was running circles. She didn't know what to say because she's being used as a puppet. She's saying whatever they tell her to say. But Trump is the real leader. We need Trump in office, and I'm believing that's what's going to happen in Jesus' name.
But I think I heard somebody say it's like 900, maybe a little more than 900 rallies. And, rarely do they ever catch me making even a little mistake. I go through rally after rally, 10, 20, 30, and then I say the wrong. They say, he's cognitively impaired. No, we're not. I'll let you know when that time happens. It could happen, but hopefully it's not going to be for a long time. He pronounced the word, he slurred the word, and I hate to go back, A lot of guys, they'll be talking and they'll make a mistake. Excuse me, let me go back. When you do that, it's over for a good speech. You can't do that. You just have to blaze through it and hope that they didn't hear the mistake. When Winston Churchill, he was a great speaker, he was actually a stutterer, a tremendous stutterer, and he became one of the greatest orators. But when Winston Churchill made a mistake, he didn't go, excuse me, and go back. He just blazed through it. But if I do it, they say, he's cognitively impaired. There's something wrong with him. These people are sick. Those people, look at them. Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. But this has been an incredible journey. And it's very sad in a way because, we've done all these, and this is the last one. But here's the good news. All we were doing is putting ourselves in a position to win, which we can do tomorrow very easily if we show up. Just so you know, if we show up, they can't win. They can't. They mathematically can't win because they're so far behind. If you don't show up, I guess. But here's the one thing I will say. Show up anyway, but they have no enthusiasm. She had a rally today. She couldn't have had more than 100 people there. And I had all 4 stadiums were full, but she had a rally and she was screaming, we're going to win, we're going to win. And they wouldn't follow her. They wouldn't say it. Did you see that clip? I'd like to put it up. The problem is I don't put up too many clips. I have the most beautiful clips. The problem is the press won't follow them. I had a friend a couple of weeks ago. We made these gorgeous clips, and actually gorgeous in one way, but horrible in another, showing the death of children and all the damage that they've caused with the open border. And all they have to do is take those cameras, look at all those cameras, oh, and all they have to do is move them like an inch over and an inch up. I have oftentimes, well, not too many. I have oftentimes screens right behind me. All they have to do is just move it up 2 inches like this. And they don't do it because they're fake news. They don't want to show what's on the screen. It's so shame. So I'm having a modestly good hair day. Look at that, look. Modestly. Not the best. I'm not thrilled, but it is what it is. No, it's great. But what I do see behind me are beautiful people, great workers, people that are proud and they love our country. That's what I really see. Nice, beautiful. So it puts us, assuming we can win tomorrow, which I think we should be able to do pretty easily. It's in our hands, right? It's in our hands. It's totally in our hands. Oh, it's today. Oh, it's today. Oh. Oh. Thank you. That's today. Wow. Can you imagine a crowd like this at like 1 o'clock or some ridiculous time in the morning? On a Monday/Tuesday, right? Think of that. What a compliment. And it is, sir, she had nobody at these rallies. That's a poll. Look, Mr. Wall, look at Mr. Wall over there, this guy. It was always my ambition to buy a suit like that and wear it one time. Well, I came in a sanitation uniform last week, and that worked out pretty good. Because Joe Biden, in one of his crazy moments, said that we were all garbage. But they've shut him down. They took the election away. They walked in and they said, you're not running anymore. You're out. They stole the election from a president. Can you imagine that? They said, you're not, they use the word coup. I think it's worse than a coup in a sense, because a coup, there's a little back and forth. They said, Joe, you're out. That crazy, horrible human being, Nancy Pelosi, who cheats like hell. She sold. You know what she said last night? She said, and there's another guy, how do you explain that guy? They say, well, we'll get ready to start impeaching him. Now, how bad are people like that? They're just trouble for our country.
Yes.
They're bad, sick people.
Yes.
They took 2 impeachments and they wasted all that time and money and energy when we should be focusing on making America great again. They're horrible people.
That's right.
I mean, Nancy Pelosi started with nothing. She's worth $200 million. She had a big position in Visa, and she sold it. And the day after she sold it, the Justice Department announced that they were under this massive investigation. You're a stock guy, right? They're under a massive investigation. So I don't know what happened, but I don't imagine the stock went up. History would tell you the stock went down. Did it go down a lot? It went down a lot. So they have this big position. She sells her stock. Hours after she sells her stock, they announce that Visa is under massive investigation. The stock goes tumbling down. She's a crooked person. She's a bad person. Evil. She's an evil, sick, crazy. Oh, no. It starts with a B, but I won't say it. I want to say it. I want to say it, but Franklin Graham said, sir, I love your speaking ability and I love your storytelling.
Please don't curse.
But honestly, It would be even better if you wouldn't use foul language.
Yeah.
And I don't use much, every once in a while. And it's never a real bad word. It's, it's like never bad. And so I try to adhere, but he's wrong about one thing. It is a little better when you use the foul language because there's more emphasis. No, but these are bad people. These are bad. Adam Shifty Schiff.
Fill him with his spirit.
I call him pencil neck. He's got the smallest neck I've ever seen. He's got about a 4. And he's got the biggest head. So I don't know how the neck can hold the head. He's an unattractive guy, both inside and out. And this guy can end up being a senator, but don't worry, we've been beating him for 8 years. We've been beating these people. We've been beating them. They impeach me, we win. They send me down the Records Act, and we won in Florida. We win. But we have to take a lot of time, a lot of money, which is what they want. A lot of time, a lot of money. This way we can stop the one guy we don't want to fight is Trump. We can stop him from getting the Republican nomination. And I got the Republican nomination in record time. And let's keep going, and maybe we can stop him from winning the presidency. But that's looking pretty good tomorrow, I'll tell you.
They literally try everything that they could to stop him. They want to smear his name. They try to assassinate him, and nothing is going to work because God's hand is upon his life, and God is going to use him for such a time as this. Trump 2024. Those of you jumping on, make sure you take the poll. Take the poll. Who are you voting for?
Probably a 95. What do you think, a 95% or something like that? But don't believe it. Don't believe it. Go out and vote. Remember the story of Hillary. Just remember, this is why I tell you the story. She was in bad shape when she called me up that night. And by the way, she called up and conceded, and then spent 7 years on saying how she was a good sport. Oh, she's a lovely person, Crooked Hillary. But you know what? She's smart. But she wasn't like, she lied a lot. I mean, a lot, but nobody lies like this Kamala. He will not ever frack in Pennsylvania. My whole case is fracking, and he will open the borders immediately. No. I'm going to close the borders. However, if people want to come in, they can come in legally. They have to come in through a process.
Exactly. Make sure you guys cast your vote. Who are you voting for, Trump or Kamala?
But Kamala is, this is known. She's a very low IQ person. And we don't need a low IQ individual. We've had that for 4 years. And our country's going down the drain. We're going to turn our country around. I will end inflation very quickly. You know how we're going to end it? By drilling and drill. Energy is going to bring everything down. Energy is going to bring it down. And I will stop the invasion of criminals coming across our border. I will strengthen our military. I will restore peace in the world. And I will rescue the American dream. We're going to have the American dream back soon. Together, we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. And we will launch the most extraordinary economic boom the world has ever seen. If you vote for Lion Kamala.
The thing about Trump is you could bank on him, because same thing that what he said that he was going to do when he ran for president in his first term, he did it. So what's happening with Kamala? She's in office right now, and she's running off of empty promises that she could have already fulfilled. And people are literally still saying that they're going to vote for this woman, and she's currently in office, giving you promises that she could have did but didn't do. Come on.
You will have 4 more years of misery, failure, and disaster our country may never recover from. I don't believe that our gun. I don't believe it can take anymore. It's going to be Can't take this. This is.
I don't believe it either. We already starting to look like a third world country. Like, what is happening here in America? Like, is this even America? Like, these people, the Democrat Party, this administration is literally digging America into, like, under the ground. Like, under the ground. I'm convinced that they hate America. They are the ones that are going to be pushing this new world order, one world government. We need Trump back in office.
This is abnormal abuse, And I heard somebody said the wall. I built 571 miles of wall, which is much more than I said I was going to build. And you know, it really worked. Walls work. Two things work. What are the two things? Walls and wheel. They're the only.
Come on, walls work. Doors work. We need protection. As he said, he's not trying to keep people out. They have to just come in legally. That is just common sense. You're not going to keep an open door in your home, and just allow just anybody to walk in there. No, there's a process. You only going to allow those who you have, who you either your family members, right? But you give permission for them to come in. You don't just allow anybody to just come into your home. Even heaven got gates. That means that there's walls in heaven. Nobody getting in, nobody getting out. You can't go to hell. You can't. Those who are in hell can't come into heaven. Those who are in heaven can't go down into hell. It's common sense. We need a wall up. That's protection. America wouldn't be America if it was just open for everybody in the world to just come into.
There's two things that never get obsolete, right? Walls and wheels. A wall and a wheel. It's always going to be around. Other things, they have the beautiful computers. You buy a computer. Oh, this is the greatest. 2 weeks later, it's obsolete. That goes on. I don't know how people do it. We have the king of computers. We have the king of everything endorsed me, Elon Musk. And he brought that rocket ship down 2 weeks ago. I never said 22 stories. It's like monster. You don't know, is it big or small? It's a monster, 22 stories. And you know that story, I've told it a couple of times. I love the story because I really, the best part is I'm talking to one of the most important guys in the world and I say, wait a minute, could I just watch something? I see something on I have the television muted, right? I'm looking at this crazy rocket. And I saw it leaving a little while before and it was all beautiful white. Now it's absolutely burned to a crisp. You know, it goes 10,000 miles an hour. The heat is at levels that nobody can experience. So it's a little, rough. It's a little rough on the paint job. And it's coming in, and I'm watching, and I'm holding this very important person, one of the most important people. But, when you were the president, and now it's very possible, like maybe 95%, that you're going to be the president again, they hold. No, they hold. So I say, do you mind holding for a minute? I have to see this. And I put the phone down. That guy was holding like for an hour and a half. He never got off the phone. I wish he would have hung up. I would have felt better. Because I picked up the phone later. I said, oh, wow. Hello? Hello. He goes, hello. Anyway, but it was so exciting. So I'm watching it. And this monstrous thing is going down, right? And it's coming down. It's first of all, it's doing all sorts of flips up in the air. I would not want to be on that sucker. I don't care how good Elon is. I said, Elon, you wouldn't get me in that ship under any circumstances. But it's coming down. It's a little rough. And now all of a sudden it starts to slow down as it gets to the ground. Then it starts to move over. Then it gets a little bit out of control. It looks like and the left part of the bottom is going to rip that big gantry. That's this, whatever the hell it is that holds it. And it's coming in. Oh, and I didn't know it was Elon's. I just assumed, he loves this stuff. He's in a class. But it's coming in and it's going to rip the gantry. I say, oh, this is bad. This is going to be bad. I close my eyes. All of a sudden, wow, you have this massive flame coming out of the left-hand side of the bottom. It was this big jet engine. It pushes it away, and it's coming down, and then it settles into a plate, and then those arms grab it like you grab your baby, just like you grab your little baby. And it hugged it and just put it down, and there it was. There it was. And I called Elon. I said, was that you? He said, yes. And he said, and by the way, he said this. And by the way, this is something I'd never said because I didn't even think of it before when I told this story. He said, and by the way, I'm heading up to Pennsylvania to campaign for you. That was 2 weeks ago. He's still there. Can you believe it? Because he considers the election more important than rockets, more important than anything. He helped us out a lot in North Carolina and parts of Georgia where they desperately needed the Starlink. I had no idea what Starlink. They called me up. They called me up in Georgia. Elon's incredible. He has Starlink. He's got everything has to do with stars and stuff. Very complex stuff. No, he's amazing. But, sir, I know that you know Elon Musk because I read your endorsement. You know, he says the most important endorsement he'll ever make. It was such a nice thing. And he said he wants to help. And I didn't know he was going to help to this extent. He went up. He won the big case today, too. He won the case. Huh? Because I don't know, he did something that I don't know what he was doing, but he did something with lotteries. And, you know, he's in a different, he's amazing. I'm going to do lotteries and this and that and make your life fun. And he's having a good time. You know, he usually is in a lab and he's happy there. All of a sudden, he's escaped the lab and now he's out. And the public adores him. He's a great guy. The public absolutely adores him. But
I will say this about Elon Musk. When as I said, I voted for Trump because of the fact that his policies, right? So for me, it's really not about personality. It's not about, whether or not he is politically correct or whether or not he is a Christian, but the fact that he is standing for biblical values is what is important for me. And when he, who's to say those who he has in his team right now, like for example, Elon Musk, I agree with anyone who agrees with the word of God when they agree with the word of God. Wherever they depart from the word of God, that's where I do not agree with them. And so with Elon Musk, my prophetic radar goes up with him because there are a lot of things about Elon Musk, about his mother and things of that nature that I find and I think is very demonic. And so that is where it's like, I know he left the Democrat Party and he's now pushing for the Republican and things of that nature. But I know that the enemy is also crafty. And so we just gonna see how this thing pan out. But do I trust Elon Musk? Not quite. Not quite. Not quite. Not quite. So, but we will see. We shall see. God is going to have his way either way.
But the man from North Carolina, great guy. You know, North Carolina was hit so hard with the water. The hurricane was essentially a massive pile of water. It was a big water hurricane, the biggest we've ever had. And they were so flooded. Areas that had never virtually seen water would turn out to be lakes. They ripped houses, trees, everything was ripped down by the power of the tides that were going back and forth. It was terrible. And this man said, if you could ask him for help with Starlink, we cannot get it. It's very hard to get. And I called Elon and he got it immediately for them. He got it so much that he had it there immediately, so much that they couldn't even believe it. He said, this has saved a lot of lives. They had no communication in North Carolina, which, by the way, we're leading. In fact, somebody said they picked up stakes. There's no more ads. There's no more. That's usually a good sign. That's usually a sign that they're not going to win. But one of the reasons they're not going to win is because FEMA did such a bad job. So FEMA, we had a great FEMA. We did good. But they spent most of their money, as you know, on illegal migrants coming in. They spent so much money that they didn't have the money to take care of the people from North Carolina. But we will be there on January 20th, because on January 20th, that's when you assume it. But they pulled up stakes. Historically, when you pull up stakes and stop advertising and leave, historically, you're in pretty good shape in this state. Is that correct politically? Because I haven't done this as long as some of the, as well and as long as, well, I think I've done it better, actually, because I ended up being president, so I probably, but some of our great politicians have done this for a lot longer than me. So let me ask you, all of these senators, and when you pull up stakes and leave, historically, Doug Burgum was so incredible. He really is, isn't he? Is he a class act? His wife is much better. She blows him away, right? Catherine is much better. But Doug, when you pull up stakes and you stop advertising, doesn't that generally mean that it's over, right? It's over. Doug is cautious. He doesn't want to, he thinks it's a trick question. No, it means it's over. And I think it's over in a lot of places. I think we're going to see some incredible stuff tomorrow, but it won't matter. It won't matter as long as you go out and vote. Nothing's going to matter because it's in our, you know the expression, the ball is in their hands, the ball is in our hands. They can't do a thing about it. And now you're going to go out there later today. And you're going to show us something and vote for me, and I will deliver rising wages, soaring incomes, and
I want y'all to see something here. I don't know if you can look in the crowd, but you see over here, the guy's shirt says, Jesus is my savior. Trump is my president. You will not see that at a Kamala Harris rally. You will not see that at her rally. In fact, she even said to the person who said, Christ is King, Jesus is Lord, she herself said, you are at the wrong rally. You belong at the rally down the street. And she's referring to Trump's rally, right? And so again, Jesus is Lord. That's what his shirt says. Jesus is my savior. Trump is my president. You will never see that with somebody at a Kamala Harris rally. Just think about the differences between these two rallies in general. The whole atmosphere is just completely different. So I'm telling you, there's no way that you can be a Christian and support the Democrat Party. They are the party of the left. Come on over to the right side. We standing for righteousness. And the Republican Party. Okay? We're standing for righteousness. I don't exactly identify as any party. I'm just a disciple of Christ, and I'm going to lean with the person who is standing for biblical values. And in this case, it's Trump. It is Donald Trump. Those of you who are jumping on, make sure that you take the poll before you leave. I'm going to be on pretty much all day, jumping between Donald Trump's last campaign message and just the preview of what's going on throughout the voting, the voting updates and things like that. So make sure that you guys take the poll. Let's keep watching.
Colossal surge of jobs. You're going to use things. What's the most beautiful word in the dictionary? Health opportunity for Americans of every race, religion, color, and creed. But I have to tell you one quick story because I'm so proud. They're going to build this great big plant. They're building it. They're going to build it. China's going to build a plant, and it's going to destroy Michigan, destroy it, destroy Detroit. Everyone's going to move out. And I heard about it through a friend of mine that builds plants. That's what he does. He builds plants. He builds them better than anybody. John, let's just call him John. And he was sitting there, and I was at the Economic Club of Detroit a couple of weeks ago. But I told John a year ago, I want to see a plant. And he said, well, I'll have to take you to Mexico. I said, I don't want to see a plant. I want to see a plant here. I want a big one. He said, we don't really do too many big ones in the United States anymore. I said, what is that all about, Mexico? He said, well, China's building some of the biggest plants anywhere in the world. They're building them in Mexico. And I said, well, I'm not happy about that. I don't want to see the damn plant in Mexico. It wouldn't look right if I'm in Mexico looking at plants. Do we agree, sir? It wouldn't look right. And so he said, all right, look, I say, forget it. Then I thought about it, and I was making the speech in Detroit, and I said, a couple of weeks before, I said, if they want to build a plant in Mexico owned by China so that they can save all of the costs associated with bringing their cars and all of the things, I'm going to put 100% tariff on every single car coming out of that plant. And if that's not enough, I'll make it 200, 300, 500, 800. I don't give a damn what it is.
Come on now, this is illegal.
And they're not going to have one car made in that plant that ever crosses that border, which is right next to them. Anyway, so I see John in the audience, and I gave them that notice a little before, and it was public. And I see him, and I send my people. I say, after I speak, make sure he comes to the back. I want to see him backstage. So I see John. I say, John, how's that big monster plant that's going to rip apart our country, but it's going to hurt South Carolina, Tennessee, and all the other places that do a lot of cars. It's going to hurt everybody. It's going to hurt the country. How is that plant doing? He said, sir, they've given it up because they think you're going to win, and they think you're going to tariff them, and they think they're going to lose their show. And sir, they've given up that plant. It's not going to be built anymore. So I saved Michigan and I saved Detroit, and we're going to let them build that plant. But you know where we want them to build it? Right here. We want them to build it. And then they won't have any tariffs to pay. They won't have any tariffs, and they're going to use you to operate that big sucker, and they can build as big as they want with no tariffs. I said, let them know we'd love to have their investment. They're going to build it right here in Detroit, or at a minimum, they're going to build it someplace in the United States, and they won't have any problems. So that's just it. So I saved Detroit and Michigan a lot. That alone, and I did that without even being president. How about that? They said he's going to win. They told John, we think Trump is going to win, and he's not going to let us make anything, and he's going to do things that we don't know. This guy is crazy. Because, you know, I charge China hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes and tariffs. They paid us, not one other president. And, you know, we're going to get along great with China. We're going to get along good. I want to get along with them. President COVID came, then I wasn't so thrilled with him. But we did a great job in that. You know, we went back, nobody knew what the hell it was. We did a great job. We get credit on our military, no wars. We did no wars. I had no wars. Remember when crooked Hillary Clinton? Remember when crooked Hillary was screaming during a debate, he's going to charge wars, he's going to have wars, he's going to prosecute wars all over the place. Look at him, he's a very volatile person. I'm actually not. I'm a very calm person. She's the one that's volatile. But he's a very volatile person. He'll say, no, I stopped the wars with my being volatile. Nobody had a war. We didn't have any wars except that we finished a war that we had. We beat ISIS. 100% of the ISIS caliphate was taken down. And it was done in a matter of weeks. When our stupid generals, our terrible generals, that, you know, the guys up top like Milley, like Kelly, real losers. Kelly was dumb as a rock. I'll never do that again. I let people, I say, give me a letter of resignation. Yes, sir, I'd like to say. They said, just give me, you know, Biden never fired anybody. That's why he never had a bad book written about him. No, and also, number two, nobody cared. When I fire somebody, every major publisher in the world, will you say something bad? I had one person who was so complimentary, sir, you're the greatest president that ever lived, blah, blah, blah. Then she gets a show, but they only want to hire her if she's, I have all these letters, there's never been a better president. She goes in the show, I didn't like him, he was terrible. What a terrible human being. These people are sick, but you know what? All we can do is keep winning. That's all. Win, win, win. But a vote for Trump means your groceries, such a word I hear all the time, because I do like to mix it up with people, more so than my consultants. I think the people are much smarter than my consultants. My consultants are good, but I get much better. Like people say groceries, right? I haven't used that. You know, such a sort of an old term. They say my groceries are so much more. I haven't, you know, the term is just like an old term. And it's a beautiful, but they say about my groceries were so expensive, they'll be cheaper. Your paychecks will be higher. Your streets will be safer and cleaner. Your communities will be richer, and your future as an American will be much better than it ever has been when I get in. Because this will be the golden age of America. And that's what I'm calling it. I'm telling the press. I hope you put it in. Isn't that a beautiful phrase? The golden age. I like to brand things like I brand Pocahontas. And, you know, I do a lot of branding. I'm one of the greatest branders in the world. A lot of them were Republicans, but they're all now friends of mine, so I can't talk. Some of my greatest branding was on the Republicans during the primaries, but they're all friends of mine, most of them. Some of them, yeah, most of them are. Most of them are, but you know, I don't talk about that. Once the battle is over, I take those words, I put them away permanently in some cases. On occasion, I'll bring them back out. But just a few months ago in a beautiful field in Pennsylvania, an assassin tried to stop our great movement, greatest movement in history. But that brush with death did not stop us by any means. It only made us more determined to finish the job that we had only just started. That was not a pleasant day, I will tell you. That was not a pleasant day. But many people say that God saved me in order to save America. Many people, I've seen it so many times. And with your help, we will fulfill that extraordinary mission together. We're going to fill it together. We are going to fulfill it together. It's a beautiful expression, and you know, I think it might be true. I have sons that are here right now, Don and Eric, and they're great people. But they're really great shooters. They're like top of the line shooters. They know so much about it. They say it was almost impossible for somebody, yeah, a miracle. It was a miracle. That's the miracle right up there, right? But I didn't realize that. But from the distance that they were, they say it was a miracle. Well, if I didn't turn to the right to look at that beautiful graph that we had up having to do with illegal immigration. So illegal immigration saved me, can you imagine? And speaking of that graph, let me see that graph. I love it so much. I love it. I love it. I hug it and kiss it every night. I take it to bed with me. My wife thinks I'm crazy. I bring it to bed with me. Look, if I don't put that up, and it's never there, it's always there or there, but usually it's on the left. So if I look to the left, I'm gone. If I looked over there, but it's like, something happened. Something happened. Something up there happened. No, but think of it. So I said, just like I did right now. The shooter's right there, right exactly 90 degrees. That crazy guy, right there. And I said, let me see the graph. I said, what the hell was that? But if I didn't turn, it goes a little, it's not good. You don't want to see that. So it was a miracle or a gift from God, maybe. Amazing. And when Don and Eric, who are really great shooters, they heard that, and then they heard the gun. They know exactly the gun. The AR-15. It's supposed to be very accurate and all that stuff. And this guy wasn't, he was at the range all the time shooting. He was supposed to be a good shooter. They said a bad shooter would hit it almost every time, a bad shooter. Don said it's the equivalent of sinking a 1-foot putt. That he put it in golf terms. I said, that's not good. Because for those that don't play golf, it's almost impossible to miss a 1-foot putt. And so it's amazing. So they were shaken up. They couldn't believe it. They actually said God did that because they didn't believe that they could. Now, it wasn't a miss. I mean, there wasn't, you ripped the hell out of it, but I consider that a miss. It ripped it up pretty good, and it was a very bloody mess. And the doctor, who was great in Butler, he said, sir, I want you to go with me to buy a lottery ticket because I've seen this. I've been doing this for 35 years, sir, and I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anyone come out of it with that gun from that range. I said, he said, I want to buy a lottery ticket with you tonight. And I said, well, doctor, let's not do that. Let's see if we can get this sucker stop bleeding. But he told me the ear is the bloodiest part. You get hit in the ear, something to do with cartilage. So they thought I was hit all over. I said, I wasn't hit all over because I was down. And I wasn't hit all over. I said, I was hit in the ear. Now get me up, get me up. They said, sir. And they were touching all over this place because it was so bloody. They said, sir, you've been hitting I said, I'm telling you, it's funny when the word surreal, right? When I got to the White House, I was standing right outside and then inside the Lincoln bedroom, the bedroom of Abraham Lincoln, his wife, his son, Tad, who died actually as a very young boy, very young. It was a very rough time for them. They were suffering tremendous melancholia. They called it, they were melancholia, they called it, not depression. It's the same thing, but in those days they call it melancholia. But I was in the Lincoln bedroom, so famous, all the furniture just the way it is. And he was very tall. He was 6'6". That's like the equivalent of a Baron Trump today. Who's a lot taller than 6'6". He's a good-looking guy, but he is tall. And but he was 6'6". In those days, very unusual, but he was tall. And then you put his hat on, which was another foot, right? So he was a pretty tall guy. But the bed was very long. You could see it was elongated. But I was there, and it was like a really surreal. I was with the First Lady, who was very popular, who got the #1 book in the country. Can you believe it? Go buy it. Go buy that book. Go buy that book. It's great. I was a little nervous when I started reading it. I said, this could be very bad for me. Releasing a book before the election could be very dangerous for me. But no, it's a great book, and she's a great writer, actually. She wrote a note at the convention. Remember the note she wrote? It was so well crafted that these guys right here wanted to put it as part of the platform. It was unbelievable. The book is unbelievable. So go get it for Christmas or something. But it was just, when I was in the Lincoln bedroom, it was a surreal experience. It was like an outer body, they call it, experience. And it just was like, it was something unbelievable. I said, can you believe this is where we are? And I was not a Washington person. I was only there 17 times, according to the fake news. But I think it's right. I was only there 17 times in my entire life. I wasn't, and I was a New York guy, now I'm very much a Washington guy. I know the good ones, the bad ones, people. I know the dumb ones, the smart ones. I know a lot about the people. I didn't know anything about the people. I had to rely, and we did great. We had mostly great, the trade people, the war people. We had a lot of great people. But when I was on the ground, there was no surreal experience. I knew I was shot in the ear. And I was telling Secret Service, and let me tell you, they were damn brave. I went down fast because, I looked, there was blood all over my hand. I said, this is not the normal situation. It's either the largest mosquito in history or I got hit by a bullet. And I followed my hand down. And I think people were also shouting, get down, get down. I think it was. But I went down, and I'm telling you, I had, I guess, 7 Secret Service agents follow me. They were very brave. I'm telling you, those bullets were flying over our head. And, you can't forget that. Can't forget that. Those bullets, and I heard those bullets going. I said to somebody, how fast were they going? They gave me some mathematical number. I said, no, I want to know in miles per hour. And I think it was 3,200 miles per hour. Think of that. A car, you're going fast at 70 or 80. These are 3,000 something. And those suckers were going over my head. There were 8 of them total. It was a total of 8 shots fired. And then it was a shot by a Secret Service sniper. Amazing, one bullet he used. But I think we also had help from one of the police snipers. He hit the stock of the gun or something, and we appreciate that very much. But it was amazing. But when I was down there, I was totally aware. I said, no, get me up, because I was speaking in front of a massive, you couldn't even see the end of it. Now, when we had the celebration honoring Corey, the firefighter, great guy, when we had that celebration, we had 101,000 people. And that's when I really got to see that's where I really got to see the real Musk, because I invited him up. And he's always like in a lab. And it's almost like he was released. And I said, you have to come up here, Elon, just come up. And he looked out and he was so happy. I think he loves people. And he started doing jumping jacks and stuff behind me, right? He was so happy. I think he's going to run for office against me. I'm very concerned. No, he's great. It was great. But he was so happy. And it was a great celebration. But when I was down, there was no feeling like I had in the White House. I mean, I totally was aware of everything. But had I not made that turn, I wouldn't be with you tonight, and that would have been bad. And I hope that's right. I hope that's right. I hope that God did put me here to really save this country. Because this country's in big, big trouble.
Yes, he did. Yes, he
This
did.
country's in big trouble.
Yes, he did.
I hope so.
Hallelujah.
To every person and every citizen across this land, I am asking for the honor of your vote. I don't want your money. Most people want your money. I don't want any money. All I want you to do is go out today. Sounds a little strange.
Oh,
Go out today.
2024.
Meaning go out in a few hours, okay? This guy's complicated because it sounds so much better when you say tomorrow, when it's night, but that's okay. I want to be exactly accurate for them. But go out today and vote. And I guess 7 o'clock or whatever time it is, doesn't matter. And we're going to have the greatest victory in the history
In
of our
Jesus'
country.
name. Hallelujah. Yes.
And as your president, I will fight for you every single day with every breath in my body. Together, we will save this country, this great country that we love. We will defeat the corrupt system in Washington, because I'm not running against Kamala. I'm running against an evil
Yes, you are. Come
Democrat
on.
system. These are
Yes.
evil people.
You want to make us wickedness.
I wasn't running against Biden either. He was stuck in a basement. I didn't even run against him. I mean, no, we're running against a very evil system.
Yeah.
And we have to defeat that system.
In Jesus' name.
And America's
Yes.
future will be an absolutely incredible one. As we stand on the brink of rescuing our country, I want to take a moment to thank the millions of hardworking men and women who are the heart and soul of this, the greatest movement of all time.
Mhm.
Because it's you much more so than me, frankly. You're incredible people. You built this country, and you're going to save this country, but you're incredible people. You're really incredible people. And as I said in the very beginning, this isn't my campaign. This is your campaign. This is a great campaign that's now it's 9 years, and we've been fighting side by side every step of the way. We've been together. That's why it's not even hard. People say to me, like very successful people, how do you stand up and talk in front of these people? And it's sort of easy because they're love. It's love in these rooms. I just left Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, fly up here, and the love was the same. It's such love, and it's not hard to do. It's much harder to do when you have people screaming at you. But there's love in this room. I think there's love in the whole country. I think it's a much bigger movement than we even understand. I think we're going to end up getting numbers that are far greater than we would expect.
Anyone can.
But you've given your time, your money, and your whole heart for this cause, and your support means more than anything you can even understand. It's amazing. I love you all. You're very special. This is my last rally. Can you believe it? The rallies, these big, beautiful rallies, there's never been anything like it. And there never will be anything like it. And it just happened. It caught on. And I think it caught on because our country's in trouble. And, I happened to be a messenger that was able to tell you what you do, because most people understand it. Most people with common sense, we're the party of common sense, they understand it. But this is all you need to know. I mean, Joe and Kamala broke it, and I will fix it. I'll fix it fast. And America will be bigger and better and bolder and richer and safer and stronger than ever before. It's going to be all of those things. The presidency requires strength, courage, and grit. And in a little while, you have to stand up and tell Kamala that you've had enough. You can't take it anymore. You're destroying our country. You were a terrible vice president. You destroyed San Francisco. She destroyed San Francisco. And she worked, when she was Attorney General of California, she worked along with a lot of her friends out there, like Gavin Newsom, the governor, one of the worst governors in history, and destroyed the state. I mean, more people moved out than moved in last year, first time ever. That's never happened before. You're going to say, Kamala, you're horrible at your job. You don't know what you're doing. You're a low IQ individual. We want smart people. We want cunning people. We're dealing with the smartest people in the world. We don't want you negotiating nuclear deals because you don't know what the word nuclear means. Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out
of here. You're fired,
You're
Kamala.
fired. Get the hell out of here. You want to ruin our country.
Get the woods out of office.
If we win Michigan, we win the whole thing. The whole thing. Over the past 4 years, Kamala has orchestrated the most egregious betrayal that any leader in American history has ever inflicted on our people. She was given the authority to run the border by Sleepy Joe because he wanted to go to bed and he wanted to sleep. He had only one thing he wanted to do, and that's sleep. So he made her the border czar. Now she's trying to deny it. By the way, the Border Patrol 2 weeks ago gave us the strongest endorsement you've ever heard. They said he's the greatest president in history and the best president on the border by a factor of 10. And I said to them, does that mean I'm better than Abraham Lincoln and George? Well, yes, sir, you're better than both of them. I had one problem. I had one of the guys that came up, and, they all, like 10 guys, they all made speeches. He's like 36. He said, sir, you're the greatest president in my lifetime. I said, I like the first guy better. I like Lincoln and Washington better than 36 years, right? But he meant well. But you know what? in terms of the border, what we did, we built all that wall. We built an extra 200 miles. They could have flipped it up in 3 weeks. You know that. It was all built. They sold it for scrap metal for 5 cents on the dollar, so much. And that's when I realized they actually want open borders. Yeah. She has violated her oath, eradicated our sovereign border, and unleashed an army of gangs and criminal migrants from prisons and jails, insane asylums and mental institutions. And these people are all coming into our country. Are you okay down there? Is somebody hurt? Oh, is somebody hurt? Oh, I saw you looking on the floor. I thought somebody was hurt. Oh, okay. We don't want our people to be hurt, right? We don't want that. But all around the world, they come from Venezuela, they come from the Congo in Africa, not just from South America. They come from all over the world. And they're stealing countless American lives. They're killing a lot of our people, a lot, far more than anybody thought even possible. The day I take the oath of office, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins. The United States is now an occupied country. Who would have believed somebody that's running for president and perhaps will be president in less than 24 hours or maybe it will take these machines that we pay so much for 2 weeks. Can you believe it? You know, if you used very highly sophisticated watermark paper, it's more sophisticated than the machines. Paper, highly sophisticated. Okay, if you used paper, and if you used voter ID, and if you had 1 day, and you, in addition to voter ID, you have a proof of the fact that you're a citizen of our country, which would be nice, you would have the results tabulated like in France. They had 37 million people. The results were tabulated at 9:30 in the evening. They had a winner, they had a loser, and they went home. And here's the other thing. I know nobody's very cost conscious anymore. 8% would be the cost compared to the cost of these very highly complex machines. And Elon Musk told me, he probably knows more about computers than any man in the world. He said that machines don't work because they're easily violated. Now, this is the smartest guy in the world, the guy that runs rockets with computers, and saying the computers are far more important than the engines. I mean, nobody knows anything like this. But if you used paper, it's 8% the cost of the other. It's more accurate. And you don't have 12-day waits. And then what the hell's happening in the inside of those machines if you wait? We want tonight. We want the answer tonight. They spend all this money. And old paper is much less expensive. And you know what? It's more accurate. It's much better. Something's going on with this. I mean, what the hell are they doing? But we don't want to wait 10 days, 12 days, 3 days, 2 days, or 2 hours. We want the answer tonight. So we live in an occupied country, and I will tell you, we will be an occupied country no longer. This will take these young guys, these have military type equipment, highest grade, highest level, supreme military equipment. Where the hell did they get this stuff? They've taken over large parts of Colorado. They've taken over parts of numerous states, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it because they think it's going to destroy their city or town. They're all over the place. And when they're not, those people running those towns, when they're not, they're petrified. They don't want them coming in. In one town in Ohio, as you know, they have a beautiful town of, think of this, 50,000 people, and they dumped 30,000 migrants into the town. So you have 50,000, now you have 30,000 migrants. Springfield, Ohio. It's a beautiful place, gorgeous place. And now if you want to go to the hospital, you can't. If you want to get a checkup, you can't. If you want to find a doctor, you can't. If you want to get your kid into school, you can't. It's a whole different world. We can't allow this to happen. They're destroying our country. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program of criminals in American history. I will rescue every city and town that has been invaded and conquered. Can you believe I'm running for this great office and I'm talking about rescuing cities and towns that have been invaded and conquered. Can you imagine 10 years ago? Can you imagine 10 years ago using language like that? Or saying, we will not allow men to play in women's sports. If you go back just 10 years and you move yourself forward and you heard a politician saying, we will not allow men to play in women's sports, they'll think, is this guy crazy? Of course they're not going to pay. To expedite removals of Trende, Aragua, and other savage gangs like MS-13. Trende is from Venezuela prison system, and they are rough. They are rough. I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. And if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole, because we don't want them back. And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer. And I will ban all sanctuary cities in the United States of America. They're sanctuary for criminals. 4 years of Kamala have delivered nothing but economic hell for American workers. The workers are getting destroyed. Her inflation disaster has made life unaffordable and cost families over $30,000 in higher prices. Think of that. Who can afford that? Just days ago, we had the worst jobs report in modern history. I never wanted to be Herbert Hoover, and I'm glad these numbers are coming out now. I'll fix it, but boy, it's getting bad. 12,000 jobs were announced. Now, usually you hear 200, 250, you hear it for years and years. 12,000 jobs. And then they became frauds. It was a fraud on the country because they made up numbers. 30,000 private sector jobs were killed in a single month, and nearly 100,000 manufacturing jobs have been wiped out since just the start of the year. You don't hear these numbers from the fake news. 150,000 Americans joined the unemployment rolls in October. 150,000. These are depression-type numbers. And nearly 250,000 people dropped out of the labor force. Just think, a few months ago, they fraudulently claimed 818,000 jobs were created, when in fact, there were none. They said 818,000 jobs were created in our country, which kept us, and what that did is it kept us like, okay, it wasn't great, but it was like not record shattering or anything, but it was a lie. And they thought they'd be able to get away with it until after the election, and then announce after the election that they made a mistake. These are bad people. Fortunately, there was a whistleblower who I think should be entitled to an award. Could you imagine if it were me and we lost the election, and then a few days later they say that the job numbers are being revised by almost 1 million people? And now they've just revised it again. On top of the 818,000, 112,000 fake jobs were just announced. So you add that up and it's almost 1 million fraudulent jobs were announced. And nothing happens. These guys don't report about it. If I was talking about 2 jobs, it would be like front page on every newspaper. They cheated, and it's fraud. When they make mistakes, they make them for 2,000, 3,000. There was never 818,000 jobs right before the election were announced, and they turned out to be a fraud. And they were going to announce the revision after the election was over. What the hell kind of an election would that have been? So I want to thank this whistleblower. Meanwhile, 100% of the net jobs created in the last year have gone to migrants. Think of that, 100%. 100% of the jobs that were created went to migrants, not to people. And I'll tell you what, your black population is being devastated by these people. They're taking all the black population jobs away, and they should announce those numbers before the election also, because frankly, what's happening there, you're going to see some bad things happen. They're taking their jobs, and the Hispanic population is going to be next. You watch. It's horrible. But if I win, it's going to be not so horrible because we'll fix it. These are depression-type numbers, and that's where we're heading if she's elected. And if she's elected, we're talking about a 1929-style depression. Under my leadership, we are quickly going to turn this economic nightmare into an economic miracle. We're going to make it a miracle. We will make America wealthy again, and we will make America affordable again. And we're just one day, meaning a half a day, sir, away from the best jobs, the biggest paychecks, and the brightest economic future the world has ever seen. But you must vote. Gotta vote. You gotta vote. Kamala's plan will impose the largest tax hike in American history. I've never heard anybody campaign. I've done this stuff for a long time, but I've been involved for a very long time supporting candidates. And candidates are always saying, we will reduce your taxes, efficiency, all this stuff. They're running on the fact that they're going to raise taxes substantially. I've never heard that. This is the craziest campaign I've ever seen. We will raise your taxes. Vote for us. Mondale, he says Mondale. I think you're right. We're going to raise your taxes, but they're going to do that on the typical family, American family. They're raising the taxes more than $3,000 a year. My plan will massively cut taxes for workers and small businesses, and we will have no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax for our great seniors on Social Security benefits. To rapidly reduce inflation, I will end Kamala's war on American energy, and we will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill. And I will cut your energy prices in half within 12 months. Okay, when that happens, everything's coming down. The donuts are going to come down. The food is going to come down. As we say, the groceries. I just told the story in Pittsburgh. A woman, elderly, goes to a supermarket and takes 3 apples and brings the apples to the counter. And then she realizes that the price went up yet again. And she doesn't have the money for them. And she excuses herself. She walks back to the refrigerator, puts the apple back in refrigeration, and walks back and buys the 2 apples. That shouldn't be happening in our country. That should not be happening, and we're not going to have it happen long. I will cancel Kamala's insane electric vehicle mandate. And I will make interest on car loans fully tax deductible. So how about that? People, the most brilliant people, is that Scott Bessent over there? Where's Scott? Scott, stand up. He said he's one of the most brilliant people on Wall Street. Do you agree, Scott, that you're one of the most brilliant people on Wall Street? Because everybody else says it. He's too shy to say it. But he's a genius. You know what his theory is? The stock market is the only sign of life, and it's only going up because everyone thinks Trump is going to win the election. And others too. I'm seeing it a lot. I think they're following your lead. But I appreciate that confidence. It's very nice. He's a brilliant guy. But so they call up and they say, brilliant guys are calling me up. And they say, where'd you come up? On a car loan, we're going to give people, we want to develop the car business in this country. In a car loan, we're going to give people the right to deduct interest, but only if the car is made in the USA. What the hell do I care if a car is going to be made in? If a car is going to be made in Japan or China or someplace else, what the hell? I don't care if they buy it. I want them to buy cars. So think of that, what that's going to do for Michigan. So if a car is made in Michigan, you get a big deduction. That's going to be somebody. So I started just with the deduction. Then I thought to myself, why should I give them a deduction to buy a car that's made in China or Japan or South Korea. Well, I don't, look, I mean, they're wonderful people. Everyone's wonderful, but I want them to be built here. So then I came in with that little extra tip, and it says, but you only get the deduction if the car is made in America. Isn't that like cool? And hopefully right here in Detroit, in Michigan would be great. We're thrilled to be joined by your next senator, Mike Rogers. Mike, thank you very much. Thank you. You're doing great. This guy is doing great. He is amazing. I think I'll tell you, it's hard to beat some of these people because they lie. I heard she's another one. She's going around saying she's very close to Trump. She agrees with Donald Trump on the tariffs and the wall and the this, but she never agreed until about 2 weeks ago when she was losing, right? No, she's doing, but I have about 6 of them that are doing that. They're doing that against Bernie Moreno. They got a guy running against him, Sherrod Brown. I love President Trump very much. He's great. We're leading. I'm leading in Ohio by like almost 20 points or something. So all of a sudden they love me. They all love me. And the day after the election, he'll be calling for my impeachment. Let's impeach him. These people are sick. But we have great members, and Mike is really a talented guy, respected all over Washington. He was there, he was very successful. And I hope he can represent you because he's going to be one of the stalwarts. He'll be a leader. Thank you very much. And also members of Congress, John Joyce, Bill Heisinger, Tim Walberg, John Molinaire. I saw you guys. Very good speech you guys made. Boy, you really were rocking them, huh? You guys, very different styles, but tremendous talents and really good. Thank you very much. You really are tremendous. You have a great bunch here. I don't say that with all states. Some states I'm not so thrilled, but that's okay. And governors, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Where's Sarah? She's so good. She is so great, right? Proud of her. I saw her father the other day. I served on a panel with him. And I said, Mike, I think you're great. He endorsed me when I was running. He gave me a 4-page endorsement. And I think the endorsement was put out before I finished my speech. And I said, you're great. He said, well, I appreciate that, but my daughter is far greater. How about that? Is that nice? My daughter is greater, he said. And he's not a man without an ego, I will tell you, right, Sarah? But he said, my daughter is greater. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing that he said. He's an incredible guy. And Doug Burgum, who's become one of the real stars of the party. And Catherine, stand up. I first noticed Doug by looking at Catherine. She was riding a horse in an ad. I said, who the hell is that? But I don't look anymore. No, beauty doesn't mean a damn thing to me anymore. It doesn't mean anything, but I did notice there was a woman, and to the left there was a man riding, but I didn't notice him so much. But it was this couple. And the ad I'm talking about, it was beautiful. It's like the most beautiful. He looked like the Marlboro Man. Whatever happened to him? But what a combination. And he's become one of the most successful governors. What he's done with the fracking and with the oil and gas and everything has become something special. He's done a great job. Thank you both very much for being here. Appreciate it. And former Congresswoman and Democrat candidate for president who did very well. I watched her for a long time. She's a woman of incredible intelligence, but maybe more than anything else, unbelievable common sense and very, very special. She just joined the Republican Party, by the way. She was an independent for years. Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi, thank you. Great. And a man who's very special with a great talent. He was the ambassador to Germany. And I'll never forget when I took him out. The happiest person in the world was Angela Merkel. When Rick Grinnell was taken out, this was the best day in Angela's life. He was He was not your typical ambassador. He was somebody who would say, this is no good, what's happening. And actually, it was a love-hate. They really loved him, but they said he's a smart one. He was wise to what they were doing. Rick Grinnell, where's Rick? Thank you. Thank you, Rick. And a woman who ran a very good race. It was a hard race because, you know, she believes in things and she believes in them very strongly. And I say you always have to stick with your beliefs. It's very tough. I told her it's very tough, but she's a hell of a woman. She had a father who I knew. He was a steelman. He was in the steel business. He was thankful when I put the tariffs on because we saved the steel industry, and he was a real pro. He passed away, but he's a great guy. But he'd be very proud of his daughter. His daughter's an incredible woman. Tudor Dixon. Thank you, Tudor. Thank you. We miss your father, right? What a great guy he was. And then we have a woman who drives extremely fast. She can drive a car and, you know, just very successful, won races, but she's very successful. It takes tremendous courage and strength and everything else. It takes everything. I think driving those cars at 220 and 240 miles an hour, boy, you got to be brave. Probably have to be a little bit crazy, Danica Bradrick, right? You have to be a little crazy, right? But it's Danica. Such an honor to have you involved, Danica. Such an honor. She's so smart. We were talking about, I just can't believe it how I was asking her questions on the plane over about, how do you do it? How do you do it? Because, you know, they had me in one of these cars that start the race, and I'm sitting in the car, and we're going like 60 miles less than what you travel at. And I'm saying to the driver, you okay? He was okay. But it's an honor to have you involved. You're really special, really incredible athlete. She's an incredible athlete. And another person that was very honest and very talented and doing an incredible job, but she was extremely honest. And sometimes you can be honest and it doesn't work out, but it's actually worked out really well because she's doing phenomenally well, better than before. Sage Steele, thank you very much, sir. And Michigan Republican Party Chairman Pete Hoekstra. Now, I told Pete, I've known Pete for a long time. He was very, very successful at everything he did, and he was an ambassador. He was one of the best. And I said, Pete, you got to come in and run the party. You got to do it for me. And it was not that easy. He has a lot of options, and he came in, and I mean, I think we're going to have a great result later. But Pete came in and ran the party, and I'll tell you, it is so organized. It's so professional. I think we're going to win. I mean, I think we're going to win in Michigan. Seems to be. We can't let them forget that I stopped that big Chinese plant in Mexico. Put that on top. But no, that was the thing. Nobody else would do that. I did it without being president. They just said, but they know it's not going to be easy for them. They won't. They're going to. Let's put it this way. If they build it, they're going to lose their ass, okay? So I want to thank you, Pete. You've done incredible. And a man who I fell in love with, actually, he's an auto worker and a union guy, but he saw what was happening. He saw look, I mean, you take a look at this area and go back 50, 60 years, it's been just a downward trend. It looks like, you ever see a chart? It's like, right, Brian? It's like just a downward, like a sliding ramp. Brian Pannebecker from the Auto Workers for Trump. Brian, come up here for a second. Come here. Come here. I got to see it. I love this guy. I always wanted arms like him. He's got that biggest, meanest arms. They look like what grabs that rocket. He could grab the rocket. Tell them a little bit about what you see going on. And I tell you, he's just an incredible guy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here at your very last campaign rally. I gotta give a shout out to Scott Hagerstrom right out here. He brought me to Novi when you were holding a rally there in September of 2016. You were a candidate before you were president, and I got backstage and got to meet you. And I told you the little song about Macomb County, home of the Reagan Democrats. I said, Mr. Trump, if you come to Macomb County and ask for the Reagan Democrats' support, which is basically the UAW members, and I got a few of them here with me tonight. I said, if you come to Macomb County and ask for the Reagan Democrats' support and you get it, you might win Macomb County big enough to carry the whole state of Michigan. I said, Mr. Trump, if you win Michigan, we both know what that means. You win the White House. And that's exactly what happened. So we're going to do it again this year. The UAW represented auto workers are going to vote 65% or more for Donald Trump for president. And we're going to carry Michigan again. Thank you, brother. I love you. We all love you.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Great guy. Great guy. And you're a great guy. I appreciate that support. I appreciate that support. Thank you very much. It's terrific. You gave us a beauty there, didn't you, huh? He's a worker. Michigan Senate Republican leader, Eric Nesbitt. Eric, thank you very much. Great job. You're doing beautifully. And Michigan House Republican leader, Matt Hall. Tremendous guy. The great Steve Witkoff, great businessman, the most generous person I know. He gives a lot of money. Every time there's a hurricane, he wants to give money, and he's just great. And Howard Lutnick, he's working along with my children and Linda McMahon, who's fantastic, and they're working on transition. But I said, don't worry about transition. Let's win this thing first. Okay, we'll work on transition. But he's one of the most respected people on Wall Street, rebuilt his firm after it was taken out of the World Trade Center by that horror show act. Long ago now, but it's still very emblazoned in all of our minds. But so Howard, thank you very much. Howard Lutnick, thank you very much. And my great children, should I have them come up real fast? Okay. Don, Eric, Tiffany, Laura, Michael, come on up here. And we have Ivanka at home, sitting home, watching every second of it. And we have Barron, my beautiful boy, Barron. Barron, he knows more about computers than anybody. I closed up his computer. He said, Dad, I'll take it 2 minutes to figure that out. And all of a sudden, the damn thing opened up. I said, Barron, you got to turn it off. Okay, watch. I turn it off. It's no way. I put a separate code in. He's operating his computer. He's operating it 2 minutes later. So this group here, they are so committed. They didn't have to do this. I guess we all didn't have to do it, but we have to because they want to see our country be so great and so strong and so respected again. When people they're laughing at our leaders. We have a guy can't walk. He can't find the stairways. Look, there's about 6 of them up. He finishes his speech. He can't find the stairways. And she's worse than him. You see what's going on. Did you see it tonight screaming, we're going to win, we're going to win. And she's screaming, and it's like 100 people going, what the hell is wrong with her? But these people are behind me. I love them, but they are really special. They're very talented people. And every one of them. Maybe I'll ask Laura to start and say a couple of words. Could I do that? She's the chairman of the party. Comes from North Carolina. I wanted her to run for the Senate. There was nobody could have beat her. But she said, you know, I have a great husband and I have beautiful kids, and I really want to focus on them for a little while because he's been working hard. And she would have been great. And I said, who do you like? And they said, Ted Budd. And I went to Ted. I said, Ted, do you like it? He said, but I'm not going to run if Laura runs. I said, well, she wants you. She likes you a lot. And he's become a great senator, but she could have. But then she becomes like the chairman along with Michael Watley. Is Michael Watley here someplace? Yes? And I wanted, the mayor of Hamtramck is here. Come here. I didn't see, I see you. You got to come up here, please. This guy has been with us almost from the beginning. He is, I'm so glad we got to see you. Hi, Michael. Thank you. Come here. He has been an unbelievable unifier. This is one of the greatest men in your state, and I want to just thank you. Come here, say a couple of words.
Thank you so much. Well, good morning. It's another day. I spoke earlier before you came, and I told the crowd that tomorrow, or today actually, is going to be a historic day, and we shall celebrate a historic victory today. I'm very proud that I endorsed President Trump, and I broke the wall of fear among the Arab American and Muslim Americans, and I destroyed that wall of isolation and the wall of silence and the wall of hesitance among the Arab Americans. And now today we had a survey that was posted among the Arab Americans in the Metro Detroit, and it shows that President Trump is leading by 76%. And Harris earlier had 3%, and the rest was for others. So we are in a mission to end that disconnect between the minorities and the Republican Party and to make it the party of inclusion. And we are in a mission, which is the priority for us today, to send President Trump back to the White House. So like I said earlier, he has done everything possible to gain your support. He told me last Friday that it was 62 days of hard work with no break and no rest, and today it's 65 days with no rest. So he has used everything possible to gain your support. Hard work, seriousness, comedy, sarcasm, everything. So how is he a threat to our democracy, as the fake news keep saying, and the other party? So I ask you and I urge you to go out and vote tomorrow. And I think we have a big chance. I'm very optimistic that we will make history and we will win and make America great again. Thank you so much. Very optimistic.
Great guy. He's a great man, and I'll tell you, you have hundreds of thousands of people that follow, and that could be a very big difference. The Democrats are not happy about this. This was supposed to be their vote, and they're not at all happy. But really a great young guy. He's a young guy, and wow, what a leader. So thank you very much. If we win this state, you're going to be very responsible for it too, and I think we will. And tonight I did a thing a couple of weeks ago with a very smart guy and very special talent. He's got the #1 podcast, they say, by like 4 times. Joe Rogan. And a lot of people thought they loved that. It was 3 hours. Oh, it was so terrible because I did it. And I said, Joe, I got a rally of this size waiting for me in a very far away place. I'm going to be very late, like 2.5 hours late. But we kept talking. It went 3 hours and 15 minutes or something. Then when I got up there, it was cold, a little bitter, and everybody waited. Nobody left. And I explained to him, look, Joe is the #1 guy. He kept me late, but I'm doing it because we have to win. and not one person was unhappy. We had a great time, and I said, we're going to devote a lot more time. It was pretty late at night. It was worse than this, okay? I can tell you. But Joe Rogan just announced, and he doesn't do this at all. I don't think he's ever done it, but he just announced that he's giving me his complete and total endorsement to do my thing. Wow. So, Laura, would you say a few words, please?
Are we ready to turn Michigan red today? Today is the day that we send a loud and clear message to the mainstream media, to the establishment, to Hollywood, to the swamp, that it is not them. It is we, the people, who get to choose our president. And we're choosing Donald J. Trump. I just want to say thank you. This is a very special night for our family. This has been almost a decade of doing this, and it has been my honor to be a part of this family, to be out speaking on behalf of a man who I love, not just because he's my father-in-law, but because he is going to save this country and going to save the world. Thank you, guys. God bless you. Get everybody out to vote. Thank you, Michigan.
Thank you, guys. Today, when you wake up with not very much sleep, you gotta get to the polls. You gotta bring your friends and your families and your loved ones, and we have to make it too big to rig. Guys, it's simple. It's a unique election. You've lived under both candidates. People like to pretend like it's not the Harris-Biden regime that has destroyed your American dream, our country, our economy, the entire world, and Western civilization. Well, you guys, right now, it's on you to raise yours, your country. It would be an honor for me, for you guys to show the same amount of resolve that this man showed on July 13th when he took a bullet to the face and came back defiant. You guys take that attitude to the polls, to your text messages to your friends. If you've early voted, drive everyone you know to the polls. That resolve is what kept us at peace. That resolve is what made trade deals. That resolve's gonna save America, and it's gonna put America first again, once and for all. So guys, now it's up to you. You make our country proud like he makes us proud each and every day. Let's get it done, America. Let's get it done, Michigan. Let's go. Well, good morning, Michigan. Who else could have this many people at 2 a.m.? Only Donald Trump. Guys, I've watched the hell that they put him through for the last 10 years. I mean, the fake impeachments, the dossiers, the Russia hoax, going after his Supreme Court justices, censoring him, taking away his First Amendment right, trying to take him off the ballots in various states all across the country, raiding his home. And yet he comes out every single day and he fights and he fights and he fights. And when other candidates have packed it in for the night, you know who's standing on the stage at 2 a.m.? It's Donald Trump. America, it's time for us to pick our fighter, and it's that man right there. And I can tell you, as a son, as a family, we have never been more proud of a person in our life. I have never been more proud to stand on a stage with somebody in my life. He's the most remarkable man I know. And I promise you, I will be on the stage till the end of earth with you because I truly believe in you. And I believe what you're doing for this country and what you're doing for our children. And you are going to save democracy in the United States, and you're going to keep peace in the world. And I love you, and we're proud of you. And let's make America great again. Thank you, Michigan.
Hello. So my father has never stopped, and he will never stop working for you guys. So let's get out there. Let's vote for prosperity. Let's vote for the future that we want to have for our children and for our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. They're my kids, but I'll tell you, they're very good people. They're good people. They're great people that love our country, and they're working. They don't have to do this. They don't have to do this. So in conclusion, with your vote, we are going to fire Kamala, and we're going to save America. We will cut your taxes, end inflation, slash your prices, raise your wages, and bring thousands of factories back to America and back to Michigan. And a lot of it will be using my favorite word, tariff. And one of the things I'm going to do, I'll give you this as a little insight. I just announced it in Pittsburgh. I didn't think it's become a very big story already, so. We're going to tell Mexico you're killing tremendous numbers of our people by allowing China to send their fentanyl through your system and through your country. And we're going to give them a little period of time. But we don't want drugs coming across our border or any border. And whether it's Mexico or Canada or wherever, because they're starting now in Canada, they're starting to go up north. But whether it's Mexico or Canada, we're going to explain to them quickly that if you allow fentanyl and these drugs to come through your country, we're going to charge you large-scale tariffs on everything you send into the United States. And they're making a lot of money in the United States. They couldn't exist without us. So we're going to do that. And we're going to tell China that if you continue to send fentanyl to Mexico or any place else that comes into our country, we're going to charge you a 25% tariff on everything you sell into the United States of America. We're not going to we can't let them, and you've never heard that from anybody but me. And I've had it in my mind for a long time, but I didn't want to tell these guys about it because they'd only screw it up like they do everything else. But I say it now because now we have the election coming up in a matter of hours. And we're not going to let them destroy our country. Most of our crime, probably 60% of our crime is caused by drugs. People that are taking drugs, they cause tremendous amounts of crime. If we didn't have that, you'd see crime rates plummet. But you know, the sad thing is that crime is plummeting all over the world because they're sending their criminals, they're sending their gang members, they're sending their drug dealers, they're sending their mental patients from all of these institutions. They're sending them into our country, and then they're opening up Oh, we're sending them back. Don't worry about it. They're opening up their prisons and they're dumping their prisons, all their prison population, Venezuela. They're way down. Their crime rate went way down because they're taking all of their criminals and terrorists and all of the people that are causing all the problems. And then on top of it, they're emptying their jails out into the.
And that's just crazy. How do I put it back on? Let's stop this one. Play this one. Play this one.
3 to 4 percentage points, and the state polls are usually off by 4 to 5 percentage points. So even a typical error in the polls is enough to move this into clearly one camp or the other.
Another question related to the Electoral College. I did want to ask this because this is one that we get quite a bit. Can the Electoral College vote for a different candidate than the state selects? Has that ever happened before? Is it possible? Is it legal?
There were attempts to have state legislatures enact bills that would send different slates of electors. Like in 2000, the Florida legislature considered one. The federal government, through a post-Trump change, has tried to make it harder for states to do that, especially after the election. But of course, we do have some states that send electoral votes on the basis of congressional district winners. So before the election, it's certainly possible for states to change how they would send electoral votes.
And a discussion a little bit about early voting. Is there one party that is more likely to turn out for early voting than another? We've seen millions of people cast their ballots. I believe it's 1/3 of American voters voted early. So is there a party that turns out more than the other, or is it kind of split down the middle?
In 2020, there was a pronounced pattern where Democrats were much more likely to turn out early. They were more worried about the pandemic. The signals coming from their party were much more positive about especially mail-in voting. That has changed to some degree in this election. I still expect nationwide there to be more early votes coming from Democrats, but there are some states like Nevada where it appears that Republicans have gotten much more involved in voting early this time.
What do you think is driving people, again, just based on what you've seen, what do you think is driving people to the polls this time that maybe didn't in 2020?
Well, inflation is a huge issue this election and wasn't in the previous election. There's been a big shift, of course, in immigration policy. In 2020, a lot of the public opinion was actually for being less restrained on immigration because people reacted against Donald Trump's policies. In this election, it's the reverse. People are reacting against Joe Biden's being more tolerant of increased immigration and moving in the other direction. So some new issues have come on to the agenda of voters, and then some voters have switched direction in terms of who they're saying has gone too far.
Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and helping to break it all down. Is there anything else you want to add at all before I let you go here?
Just that people do have to be patient for election day itself, because there's a lot of signals that don't tend to go well in terms of predictions. We always have anecdotal reports about turnout that don't turn out to be accurate, and then we have early indications of how things are going from exit polls, which are notoriously error prone, especially in that first wave that are announced as soon as the polls close.
All right, Matt, thank you again for taking the time to be with us. I know it is a busy time, so we definitely appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, and I do want to head out to a state that we're watching very closely right here. We do have North Carolina, and this is some of the video as More than half of North Carolina voters have already cast their ballots, but some people in the key battleground state are still recovering from Hurricane Helene, and they'll finally have a chance to vote today. Do want to bring in Fox's Chelsea Torres live over in Burnsville, North Carolina, where a tent is set up as a polling site. Chelsea, what are voters saying to you so far?
Josh, good morning. You can see this tent behind me. Voters have said that it is a blessing that these tents are here in their community. And although many voters have been able to cast their ballot in the state pretty early, some people still were not able to actually make it to an early voting site, or they've just been far too busy with recovery. And now they're relying on these tents in their community to cast their ballot today. You can see this map that we have here. You can see where Asheville is, and the state's Board of Elections did build 7 large tents in devastated areas. Most of these tents, though, are near those original polling sites. One woman I talked to says the storm knocked out her power, water, and even the bridge to her early voting site. But now this tent polling location is within walking distance, and she says she'll cast her ballot today. She says having a poll nearby is bringing a sense of normalcy for the community, and Helene will actually be front and center when walking into that voting booth.
We're trying to get back to normal, but we still are living in the middle of this, so it's constantly on your mind. And I don't see how you could vote without thinking about everything we've been through in the last month.
And Josh, the polls have been open for nearly 3 hours now, and there's been dozens of people that have already walked into this polling site here in Burnsville. So that just kind of goes to show the how popular it would have been. I think a lot of poll workers that I talked to, they really were unsure what the turnout would be. And I'm telling you, dozens of people have been here this morning. Josh?
All right, Chelsea Torres there with Fox. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. And of course, we'll check back in a little bit later to get an update. Thank you again.
Thanks, Josh.
And I do want to pop up this map right here and give you a look, as that is just one of the swing states here that we're watching very closely. That is North Carolina. We're also keeping an eye on Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. We do have Fox affiliates that are in most of those locations, and we'll bring you their coverage throughout the day here on Live Now from Fox. And don't forget, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern time tonight, that is when we will bring you our results coverage. We're going to have our team paying very close attention. The second that those results come out, you will be the first to know if you're watching us here on Live Now from Fox. Also do want to pop this up so you can see that we are waiting on a news conference to get underway. This is over in Georgia, as we are expecting to hear from state officials providing an update, as they have done daily, just based on maybe some of the early voting numbers there, any issues that they've seen at the polls today or in the past several days, and what they've seen as far as turnout so far today on Election Day. Let's head to a quick 2-minute commercial break now at 9:13 on the East Coast and 6:13 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow. You're watching Live Now from Fox. We'll be right back. Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 9:15 on the East Coast and 6:15 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow. Thank you so much for joining us here on this election day as we do continue our live coverage. Moments ago, we did see Senator J.D. Vance, Trump's running mate, go into a polling location to cast his ballot over in Cincinnati, Ohio. He is now walking up to the cameras here, so I do want to pop up the audio.
Hey guys, good morning. Good to see y'all. Appreciate you coming out to see one of the great traditions, of course, in American democracy. I, of course, voted for Donald Trump and myself. So did my wife, and we also, for all the locals out there, we voted for Bernie Moreno for the United States Senate. And if you want the policies of Donald J. Trump in the United States Senate, then Bernie Moreno is the only candidate in this race who I think is the candidate of peace and prosperity for the United States Senate. So I hope people will get President Trump over the finish line. I hope people here in Ohio will get Bernie Moreno over the finish line. Look, I feel good. You never know until you know, but I feel good about this race. I felt good about my own race a couple of years ago when I voted in this exact same spot. Hopefully it goes as well for President Trump and me as it went for me a couple of years ago in the state of Ohio. So I appreciate you guys being here. Happy to take a few questions. You obviously can see my kids bouncing around here. There's Usha. And, we'll take a few questions, but we're going to hit the road, go back home, and then head off to Palm Beach.
Senator, regardless of the results tonight, half the country probably won't be satisfied with the results.
Sure.
What's your message to them, potentially your supporters, if it doesn't go the way that they wanted it to?
Well, look, I think our message is, first of all, we do expect to win, but obviously no matter who wins, half the country, as you said, is going to be at least partially disappointed. I think my attitude is the best way to heal the rift in the country is to try to govern the country as well as we can, create as much prosperity as we can for the American people, and remind our fellow Americans that we are all fundamentally on the same team, however we voted. I certainly hope you vote for Donald J. Trump today. I think that his policies are going to promote peace and prosperity for our citizens. But if you vote the wrong way, in my view, I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to treat you as a fellow citizen. And if I am lucky enough to be your vice president, I'm going to fight hard for your dreams and for your family over the next 4 years.
Senator, do you have an opinion on who will fill your Senate seat if you win?
No, look, I'm way too superstitious to think about those things. Let's get this election over the finish line. Let's make Donald J. Trump the president-elect, and then we'll worry about what happens afterwards. No, actually, he called me about 3 in the morning, apparently from the plane headed from Michigan to Palm Beach last night. I was in bed at the time. I haven't been able to talk to him this morning. I was going to call him as soon as I woke up, but when I realized that he got back home around 5:30 last night, I decided hopefully he's asleep, and so I'm not going to call him. I'll certainly talk to him probably on the way to the airport or when we land.
Senator, you grew up 20 miles away, Middletown. Now you're standing here. Maybe in a few hours you'll be the next vice president.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that in that moment? Here to here, and possibly second in command.
Look, it's an amazing thing. My heart is just overwhelmed with gratitude to the generosity of the American people. The fact that I'm standing here is very much a testament to the fact that we live in the greatest country in the history of the world. The fact that I have a beautiful wife and 3 beautiful kids is more importantly a testament to the fact that we live in the greatest country in the world. So I think that what today represents is an opportunity to pay down a debt that I owe to this country. And if I am the vice president, I'm going to work as hard as I can to pay down that debt. I don't think I'll ever be able to return what this country has given to me, but I'm going to try, but we have to win first.
Sir.
My most important message is we ought to argue, disagree about, persuade each other about politics. That's part of the natural process. But we can't discard friends and we can't discard family members. I think that if we all just recognize this basic principle that we ought to love people, we ought to be friends with people, we ought to be family members with people, regardless of their politics, that would do a lot to heal the division. I know myself, I've had a lot of friends, not a lot, I've had a few friends who have cast their friendship aside because I decided that I wanted Donald J. Trump to be the winner in the last election and in this election. I think that's a tragedy, and I'm not going to follow that example. I'd say to everybody, whether you're voting for Donald Trump or voting for Kamala Harris, remember, friends and family, that stuff is what really, really matters. We ought to be kind to one another. We ought to treat each other with respect. And fundamentally, what we're trying to do, President Trump and I, is just build the kind of country where our fellow Americans can achieve their dreams. But that's all of our fellow Americans, regardless of who they vote for. We'll take one more question.
Senator. In Iowa, Harris ahead. Are you concerned at all that this could potentially bleed over states like Ohio? Ohio?
No, I'm not too worried about that. Look, one outlier poll doesn't change what we've seen on the ground. We feel very good about the energy. We feel very good about the early vote. But ultimately, the ball is in the courts of the American people. Today is the day. If you don't want an open border, vote for Donald Trump. If you want to get back to low inflation and affordable groceries, vote for Donald Trump. If you want to return the world to peace and stability, vote for Donald Trump. That's my pitch to voters. I really do believe that we can have a golden age of prosperity in the United States of America, but voters are going to ultimately make that choice. I don't worry about any one poll. I think that we're going to win. I really do, but ultimately the voters make that decision. We'll see what they think about this by the end of the day, hopefully. God bless you guys. Thank you. You ready?
All right, there you have it. Senator Vance, Trump's running mate, did speak to members of the media after he voted over in Cincinnati, Ohio. Now, we do expect at some point today we'll get an image of Trump voting over in Florida. But as you know, Kamala Harris, vice president there, did actually mail in her ballot already. So we're not going to have any image of her mailing that in. It already did happen. And I believe around 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, that is when we are going to hear from her running mate, Tim Walz, as he does speak alongside his wife, Gwen. So we'll bring that to you in full. Any other campaign events that pop up, we'll make sure to bring those to you live, raw, and unfiltered here on Live Now from Fox. Also do want to pop up this live image that we do have coming in out of Georgia. That is where we expect an update from state officials. You can see the sign there for Brad Raffensperger on the bottom of your screen. He's been providing daily updates as to the situation there with early voting. And of course, today he'll let us know if there were any issues reported so far. But we will bring that to you the second it gets underway right here on Live Now from Fox. Also do want to check in with some of our other affiliates across the country. We do have our team over in Houston. This is over at Fox 26 Houston. So let's pop up the audio and listen in as they are in live coverage.
Republican Marshall Slott is challenging Sheriff Eric Fagan. He is a Democrat. Now, the most controversial issue on some ballots in Fort Bend County, most of Sugar Land included, it is the race between Andy Myers, a Republican, and Terrell Patel. He's a Democrat. He's the challenger. Of course, Patel is, of course, currently under indictment, accused of creating fake online identities to fabricate charges of racism. He's denying those charges. Another big item on the ballot getting attention in Sugar Land is Proposition E, which would issue $12 million in bonds for city facilities, including a brand new animal shelter. It is important to note that Fort Bend County voters can vote at any polling station in the county. Polls are open from 7 to 7. There are about 23 different locations in which you can vote. And of course, if you follow me on social media, I will list those polling locations for you so that when you get out in this weather, you'll be able to go straight to them and get your vote out, especially if you live in Sugar Land, guys, which is where we are. Nate Griffin, Fox 26 Morning News.
Thanks so much, Nate. We appreciate it. All right, right now we're going to give you a live look. This is a live picture from Michigan, which of course is one of the big swing states. And this is Detroit that we're looking at. And we're going to talk about the voter turnout there coming up next.
All right, a big thank you there over to our Fox 26 Houston team. Do want to check in with them as there is a very closely watched race as folks try to see if we will see Ted Cruz reelected to his seat. Again, we will keep an eye on that race as well as many others across the country all throughout the day and in the days that follow. Now, we are asking for your photos here on Election Day with your I voted stickers or maybe hats, whatever you got. So if you do want to submit that here, you can either go to livenowfox.com/connect or just scan the QR code that will appear there on the top right-hand side of your screen. It'll take you over to a website where you can easily submit your photo with a little caption, and we'll be showing these throughout the day as well. You can see this one coming in from Britton Easley, who said, "We voted for VP Harris for a new normal and for all rights. She will be the president for all people." Again, we are getting your images coming in. We have Jay De La Cruz. He submitted this photo and said, #Trump, #Puerto Rican, #voting for Trump. All right, so those are just some of the photos. If you do want to submit yours, just scan over on the top right-hand side of your screen or go to livenowfox.com/connect. As I've been showing you a lot over the past, I would say, 30 minutes or so, we do have the stage set for an update from Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State over in Georgia, to provide an update essentially on the totals for early voting, as well as any issues that they may have seen on today, election day, as folks do line up. We've seen several images of different lines across the area. Do want to pop up this image right here. This is out of Bucks County, Pennsylvania. That is, of course, one of 7 swing states that we're keeping an eye on. And the line just kind of gets longer and longer each time we look because the polls have now been open for a couple hours. And we can tell you that all of the swing states, all 7, now officially have their polls open at this hour. 9:26 on the East Coast, 6:26 on the West Coast. Do want to head to a quick break, but we'll be right back with more live coverage here on Live Now from Fox. Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 9:28 on the East Coast and 6:28 on the West Coast. You are taking a live look at one of our many cameras showing polling sites both outside and inside. This is a live look over in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. Of course, as we've said, Pennsylvania is one of 7 swing states that we are watching very closely today. And again, our results coverage will begin at 6 p.m. Eastern time. The second that we do get those results, you can see them right here on Live Now from Fox. Now, one thing I want to talk a little bit more about is the youth vote. We've heard a lot about that, not just this election, but over the past several elections. David Schultz is a distinguished university professor of political science and legal studies over at Hamline University, joining us now live. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Josh.
All right. So essentially, when we talked about the 2020 election, a lot of people said that the youth vote could kind of sway the race in one direction or another. Is that a similar situation that we're looking at right now here in 2024?
Yes, we are. Now, just to put a little bit of perspective here, what we're looking at is generally for those, let's say, over the age of 30, voter turnout gets around 65, 70% turnout. When you go below the age of 30, it drops by about 20 points. So a pretty significant drop off here. And what we're seeing, I think, in the last couple of weeks of the election here is both the Harris and the Trump campaigns targeting those under age 30 voters in the respective swing states, but they're targeting different voters. For Harris, it's primarily female voters under the age of 30. For regardless of race and education. For Trump, he's targeting white Caucasian males without college degrees, again, under the age of 30. So they're both looking at this election coming down to what do these younger voters do?
The youth, are they just there essentially to vote for the presidency, or are we seeing them kind of go to the polls to vote on maybe some of the initiatives that are there when we talk about marijuana, abortion, immigration, other things that are appearing on the ballot?
That seems to be the issues that are driving them more than anything else. And over the last few years, we've seen them driven to the polls exactly by reproductive rights issues, LGBTQ issues, marijuana, exactly as you point here. The difficulty with younger voters is getting their attention in terms of realizing there's an election, the election matters, they need to show up. One of my students had this great observation. She said that getting young people to vote is like telling somebody how to pack for a trip. You've got to prepare, pack, find your luggage, et cetera, et cetera. For especially first-time voters, they don't know how to go about this. They're still learning the process.
Is there, and you kind of touched on this already, but is there one party over another that the youth, so to speak, tend to gear themselves toward?
Well, again, depending on how we look at it here, first off, those under the age of 30 are more likely to consider themselves to be independents, but leaning. And again, women under the age of 30, whether it's white Caucasian, African American, Latino, more likely to lean Democrat. White male Caucasians without a college degree more likely to lean towards Harris, towards Trump and the Republican Party. So again, so there are clear splits there, clear splits in terms of where they're leading. But it's also important to understand something else really critical here is that 2020, for example, was an important election. In 2020, the baby boomers were eclipsed by the millennials and Gen Z as the largest voting bloc in America, roughly 37% of the electorate. Now they're about 40%, that is millennials and Gen Z. They really do make a difference. And whether they show up and who shows up really is going to have a huge bearing upon who wins this election.
You touched on this as well, but want to get kind of a breakdown and go a little bit further. We keep saying the youth vote. You hear it constantly. Who specifically are we talking about? I mean, I'm in my late 30s. I don't think I count as a youth in any way.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what we're defining as youth at this point is generally people under the age of 30. And what we're focusing mostly on are what we're going to call two generations. Millennials who were born roughly between about 1982 and 2000. A few of them are a little bit older, than 30. And then it's the Gen Zs, those who were born after 2000. And those two groups together, like I said, are just about 38, 39% of the electorate. They're a huge group of people out there, but we can't treat them all the same because they vary by region, by education, by income, by a whole bunch of different things. And so what both the Harris and Trump campaigns have been doing is figuring out which of those subgroups are more likely to vote for them. And then the task has been to get their attention, find out how you reach them. Is it by cell phones? Is it by social media? And that's really what they've been focusing, and which social media, I should say, too. So that's what the focus has been for the last 2 to 3 weeks. And the fact that we see both explicit appeals by both Trump and by Harris, using Joe Rogan, trying to use Taylor Swift, are indications about how they're trying to reach these different populations.
My last question for you here, what might prevent the youth from turning out to vote? Why might younger people choose to just not go to the ballot box?
Well, first off, they might not be registered to vote. They might not like the two candidates and might opt to go somewhere else. Believe it or not, there's a lot of young people who just don't see the importance or value of voting in an election. I teach American political science, and I talk till I'm blue in the face sometimes and say voting does matter. And so I think there's a whole bunch of different reasons that are sort of put together in terms of why the youth vote doesn't show up to vote all the time. But this is not just current youth. I mean, take us back a generation, take us back to the baby boomers. Voter turnout for younger people always lags by about 20 points compared to those who are older.
All right. David Schultz, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and help kind of break it all down. Anything else you want to add about this before I let you go?
I guess what I would say at this point is look tonight for the election returns when they start to come in. Are they coming in heavily from college towns or not? And if they are coming in from college towns, that's probably a good sign for Harris. If they're not coming in from college towns, that's probably a good sign for Trump. But I focus on the college towns because that's going to be the base, especially for Harris, that she's looking for.
All right. Thank you again for being here with us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And I do want to take you out to another live camera that we do have just coming in. This is over in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky. Again, we have these cameras just about everywhere, especially in key states. Do want to pop this up once again. We showed you a bit earlier, but the line getting longer and longer over in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. That is one of 7 swing states that are going to be watched very closely as the results do start to come in. Now, I do want to remind you, 6 p.m. Eastern time, that is when our primetime coverage does resume. We'll make sure to bring you all of those results as they do come into our newsroom. We got it all for you right here. Got you covered on Live Now from Fox. Let's head to a quick break now at 9:36 on the East Coast and 6:36 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and you're watching Live Now from Fox. Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 9:39 on the East Coast and 6:39 on the West Coast. Do want to pop up this live image once again. This is coming in out of Georgia. As you can see, the state seal right there and the flag. The podium is set up here for Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, who has been giving daily updates on the state of elections in the state. He's been providing early voting numbers as well as word on any technical issues they've had, anything reported. So we expect that same situation today. Now, the podium has been set up for a while, but he has been holding his briefing sometime around 10 a.m. Eastern time. So we can assume it's going to be in that direction as far as the time goes, but we'll make sure to bring it to you as it does get underway. All right, also do want to head over and check in with our Fox 5 Atlanta team right now for a look at some of their coverage as we are checking in with our different affiliates.
Have been focused on the presidential race, but there are some very critical elections in Congress that are really going to shape the future.
Important to note
Yes.
that. So we have some help to break it all down for you. Lena DeFlorius is here in the newsroom with us for the balance of power in Congress. So take it away, Lena.
All right, we're going to take a look at the House of Representatives. This is the lower chamber of Congress, much bigger than the Senate, which only has 100 seats. But the House of Representatives has 435 seats, and 38 of them represent Texas. Now, they don't represent the entire state of Texas. They represent their own congressional district. And these numbers are based on population. So what you're seeing now is a result of the 2020 census. In fact, that is when Texas gained 2 more seats in the House of Representatives. These are 2-year terms. So if it's in a presidential election, a midterm election, you will be voting for your representatives. And all 435 of these are on the ballot each and every time. Now, they're testing the system, so these numbers are a little off. Let me walk you through it. Of the 435 seats, 218 are needed for control. Right now, Republicans have that. They're walking in with 220 seats versus Democrats with 212 and 3 open seats right now, including 1 here locally. So we'll take a look at the races. There are 38 congressional districts across the state of Texas. 11 of them are right here in Southeast Texas. You have multiple districts. We have District 2, District 7, District 29, for instance. District 18 is the one getting all the headlines because it's the first time in 30 years that Sheila Jackson Lee hasn't been on the ballot. When she passed away in July, she left her seat open for this term, and now you have to fill next term as well. So while under normal circumstances, every American would vote for 1 representative, if you're waking up in Congressional District 18, you are voting for 2. This race will be for the next full term, 2025 through 2027, but you also have to fill the unexpired term that goes from now until January 3rd, where you have her daughter, Erica Lee Carter, and 2 Republicans running as well, Maria Dunn and Kevin Durrell. So this is really going to play into the big picture when it comes to the Electoral College, because now that we have 38 representatives with 40 electoral votes in the Electoral College. So there is a potential, ladies, that we could have both the Senate and the House of Representatives flip-flop control where the other party takes it. If that happens in the same election, it'll be the first time we've seen that in more than 230 years.
Yeah, that could really be huge. Thanks so much for breaking it down, Lena. Fantastic job.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. We love having the help of our different Fox affiliates all over the country, many of them in those swing states, the 7 that we are watching very closely. Do want to pop up that map for you once again here on Live Now from Fox. Again, 7 swing states. We're talking Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. Now, we are going to head to a quick break here, but on the other side, we're going to check in with our Fox 10 Phoenix team for a look at one of those swing states, that, of course, being Arizona. You're watching Live Now from Fox. We'll be right back. Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox 945 on the East Coast and 645 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and we are keeping a live look right here over in Georgia as we expect to hear from Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger in a matter of minutes. He will be providing an update on voting there in that swing state, as well as essentially what they've seen so far today and any technical issues that have been reported. He will also likely take questions from reporters who are there at the time. And from one swing state to another, I do want to head now to Arizona. Danielle Miller with our Fox 10 Phoenix team is in Maricopa County, where people will be paying very, very close attention to those results. Thank you so much, Danielle, for being here with us this morning. What are you seeing so far?
Yeah, good morning, Josh. Thanks for having me. So far here in Maricopa County, this is the largest county here in the state of Arizona, very closely watched. We have seen about 20,000 in-person votes. Our polling locations opened at 6 o'clock this morning, so they've been open for about an hour and 45 minutes so far. And we actually had a massive early voting turnout. There's about 2.5 registered voters here in the county, and early voting numbers, there was about 1.5 million. So still about 1.5 million people to go to the polls today. Potentially, there's about 246 polling locations spread throughout the entire county. And here in Maricopa County, you do not have to go to a specific voting center. You can go to any of the voting centers here within the county. So far, we've seen about the longest wait time that's being tracked is about 30 minutes long. There's an average of about a 2-minute wait at these polling locations. And what's pretty interesting here about this election, this is a 2-page ballot. So there is a lot of propositions on the ballot. There's a lot of local races. Obviously, we have the presidential race. So there is a lot to get through in terms of what people will be doing today if they're voting in person, possibly going to take quite a bit longer than in years past. So as far as results here, we are expecting the first drop of any potential results happening at 8 o'clock tonight. So our local time, 7 p.m., that is when our polling locations will be closing this evening. As long as people are in line by 7 p.m., they can still cast their vote there. But yeah, so 8 p.m., we are going to be watching very closely. They're telling us that that is the first drop of some results, most of those coming from the early voting that has happened here within the county of Maricopa. So we're here at the County Elections Department. It is right here behind me. Typically, in years past, we've been able to go inside the Elections Department, kind of watch things happen, the tabulation center, but because it's just become so busy here, it's obviously very heavily watched here in the state of Arizona. We are now outside. They have kind of a media center set up for us. And inside here at the Elections Department, this is all the election officials. It's a war room, if you will. They have a big monitor set up. They are looking at real wait times in terms of all the polling locations spread throughout the entire county. If there is a problem at one of those polling locations, that is allowing them to send somebody out to hopefully fix that problem. So that is exactly what's happening inside here. But this is also the tabulation center inside this building as well. There's a live camera. People can watch this live all throughout the day. So a lot happening here in Maricopa County. As we know, we have a lot of local races that are being very closely watched, and as well as that presidential race being a swing state here. Josh.
All right, Danielle Miller there with our Fox 10 Phoenix team. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll be checking back in with you quite a bit, as Arizona, of course, one of those 7 swing states that we're watching very closely. Thank you again for taking the time to be here with us. We appreciate it.
Yep, you bet.
And I do want to pop this up for you once again, as we are asking you to send in your I voted pictures, whether that's with a sticker or in some cases we've seen a hat, but that's adorable right there. You can see the sticker. This is from Julia Contarez. Hope I said your name right. Took my youngest daughter for her first time voting, raising intelligent humans. We the people want our country back from the greedy. #MAGA. Also have this one right here from Mark and Marilyn Crawford. Every vote counts. They are pointing to their stickers right there on your shirt. And if you do want to submit your own, don't forget, just scan that QR code on the top right-hand side of your screen. Open your camera app, click the little button, and it'll take you to a website you can go to, or you can just go to livenowfox.com/connect. Again, we'll make sure to show all of your election photos right here on Live Now throughout the day. You are taking a live look once again over in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, one of 7 swing states, but that county specifically is one that is really contested. Folks are going to be watching that very closely throughout the day today. Now, we also have some of these other images I do want to show you right here. This is over in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky. You know, people are keeping an eye on just about every state here. No, big race that we're watching there in Kentucky, but still do have to remember that voters are turning out in large numbers just about everywhere. Also have this live image that is coming in from here. This is where we do expect that former President Donald Trump will be voting a bit later on in the morning or early afternoon. Now, we can imagine that as he does that, he will likely speak to members of the media as he exits that voting center right there. But we saw J.D. Vance, his running mate, do that a short time ago over in Cincinnati, Ohio. He casted his ballot and then came outside and spoke to the media, answering just a few questions. It is likely Trump will do the same. Also keeping an eye on this situation right here, we expect to hear from Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. That should be coming down here in just a matter of minutes, so we'll bring that to you live, raw, and unfiltered as it does get underway. Do want to head to our final 2-minute commercial break of the hour now at 9:51 on the East Coast and 6:51 on the West Coast. You're watching Live Now from Fox. We'll be right back.